So welcome to Career Pathways webinar. This is just one in a series of webinars we're doing through CA2VES. For this webinar, we're going to be talking a little bit with Hope Rivers and hearing about the SC Technical College system. So we want to get started by doing some quick introductions, and I'll be introducing myself and Rebecca. So Rebecca Hartley could not be with us today. She ended up having to go out of town. So I'll do my best to fill her shoes as much as possible. But Rebecca is the Director of Operations for CA2VES and the Clemson University Center for Workforce Development. I am Jenny Moore, and I currently serve as the Director of Partnership and Program Development for Clemson Online. And CA2VES, Center for Workforce Development, and Clemson Online work really closely together on professional development and non-credit training, instructional design. So I've had the pleasure of serving in that area on some of their current projects. And I'm also a previous employee Director of Digital Learning for Center for Workforce Development. And Hope, do you want to introduce yourself?
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm like, okay, are we ready for me? I am Hope Rivers, and I serve as the Executive Vice President for the Technical College System here in Columbia, South Carolina. And I think as we move through the PowerPoint slide, I'll tell you a little bit more about my area and what I do. So I'll pause there.
Sounds good. So just a quick overview of the agenda and some of the, I don't know if we call them ground rules, but how we usually try to work things through the, so that you can participate in this webinar. So first, today we're going to focus on a real quick overview of CA2VES and our focus areas associated with pathways. And then Hope is going to give us some details on the SC Technical Association, including areas focused in pathways for student priorities and impact, academic partnerships, and then she's going to give an overview of the Ready SC program and their apprenticeship program. And before I kind of get into this, if you haven't found it already, there is a Q&A option on Zoom. And if you have some questions as we move forward, please feel free to type those questions in the Q&A as soon as you think of them. And we'll see that come through, and we're going to take some breaks throughout to check for questions and answer questions. And then we'll have at the very end a final opportunity to ask any questions that come up along the way. So to get started, just a quick overview of CA2VES. We focus mainly on 4 pillars of workforce development, including increasing access through training and then improving career pathways, affordability and graduation rates. We do a lot of STEM initiatives to support K-12. And then we also work to create awareness about workforce development, and that's mainly through networking and our partnerships and some of the research that we do. And the main goal is to reach the key audience members and stakeholders that we have that you see listed there. Today we want to talk mostly about our pathway work that we've done, and we seek to increase diversity, the quality of technological education pipeline by creating these sustainable pathways and innovative STEM integration. We'll talk a little bit more about, you'll hear a little bit from Hope as well about how they do that too. We also really focus on increasing diversity and quality of advanced manufacturing talent pipeline. And we do that through sustainable pathways that often include working with our 2-year college partners to promote technician education options. And we offer those education options through their institutions through those partnerships. And we try to ensure that students understand what career options are available and what the benefits are and how they can actually get into those fields through this education. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and pass things over to Hope and let her kind of walk you through SC Technical College system and sort of their impact and initiatives associated with pathways.
Okay, thank you so much. Well, I'm going to just kind of take you through a broad view of kind of what we are doing here at the Technical College system. If you have specific questions, certainly feel free to ask me those. If I can't answer those questions right now, then I certainly don't mind getting your email or contact information and answering the question for you later. There'll be some areas on here that are not directly related to me and my area and kind of what we do, but we're all one system. So Rebecca and Jenny had asked that we just kind of show the full picture. And I think that's the best view, is to look at us as a full system. So on this first slide, I'm going to actually start at the bottom. You'll see that we have credit programs. We are 16 technical colleges strategically located across the state of South Carolina. All of our campuses, we strive to be about 15 minutes away from anyone is pretty much what we say. So a student should be able to get to a campus or a satellite campus in about 15 or 20 minutes. So we are strategically located throughout the state. We offer credit programs, which is where I was about to start, that are in demand in the jobs that are relevant in that particular area. We also offer continuing education training in the area. So you may need to get a specific certification or something like that. We also have our award-winning Ready SC. So those of you that have not heard of Ready SC, you'll hear me talk about a little bit about them today. And if you have specific questions, again, I can make sure that we answer those for you. This division of economic development does not fall under my purview, but certainly we're all in the same building, in the same business, so I can answer some of those questions for you. And then we also have Apprenticeship Carolina, which is kind of the newest member of the family, but they are doing some terrific things. And that's, in fact, kind of what makes up our entire system, the 16 technical colleges, our credit and continuing education offerings, Ready SC, and Apprenticeship Carolina. Next slide. So I'm going to spend some time today kind of sharing with you first about the Division of Academic and Student Affairs and what we have going on, so you can kind of understand us as a system. At the top there, you see that I have our system president, which is Dr. Hardy. And Dr. Hardy works with all of the 16 technical college presidents. They meet about once a month to talk about issues and things that they all have in common. So we we may develop our, well, not even a may, we definitely develop our legislative agenda together. We look at kind of our strategic direction, and Dr. Hardy is responsible for bringing everyone together, those presidents together, to kind of talk about what's happening across the state and get a sense of what's going on and what direction we might want to go in. And then next, you have me, and I'm just kind of representing my area. I serve as the executive vice president, like I said. I also will serve for Dr. Hardy. If he's not going to be available to attend a meeting or something like that, then I'm often asked to go and represent him or the system. So in academic and student affairs, I just wanted to give you a quick hit. I won't go through everything that's listed below, but we have research and special projects. So you'll see some of the special projects that we work on. I want to call to your attention really under special projects. If you look at things like the Coded Academy or Teaching and Learning Tuesdays, these are training institutes and things like that. These are projects that we've done in conjunction with another area. Motorcycle education, sometimes people are like, Ali, how did you get that one? Well, that was done in conjunction with, well, the legislators kind of gave that one to us because they wanted the South Carolina Technical College system to work closely with the Department of Motor Vehicles in developing a curriculum. So that's, again, kind of going to what we're here to talk about today. Those are partnerships. When you look at the Coded Academy, again, that's monies that we received from Microsoft to kind of have a grant, but we also look and have worked with Clemson University, University of South Carolina to bring in women to learn more about IT. Going on to academic partnerships, we'll talk about this a little bit more in the slides that come next, which is articulation and transfer. We do a lot with dual enrollment, working with our K-12 schools. Under curriculum and instruction, of course, we're doing course development. We evaluate our programs regularly, and we have institutional research. So when you look at the number of students that are in our system or any type of demographic information, that would come out of the area that I work with. And then we also have student affairs. And so student affairs is the typical things that you think about, from a financial aid to registration. And then you see method of administration. That's really kind of dealing with the Office of Civil Rights and making sure that all of our colleges are compliant. Next slide. So I wanted to share with you just kind of briefly the things that we work on and kind of stay focused with. The things that are listed below are kind of our, I would say, our guiding, I won't say principles, but it's just the things that kind of guide us. The chief academic officers will get together at the end of September, and we usually pick one of these areas that we'll focus in and bring in presenters and really kind of hone in on, whether it's innovative curriculum or increased accountability or trying to do something to kind of close that skills gaps. I mean, all of those things these are the things that we look at to kind of center our priorities around. Next slide. And then these are our targeted program clusters. And I would say, and I've shared this before when using this slide, these clusters are clusters that you could probably ask any entity in South Carolina that's dealing with workforce development, what are the top clusters in the state of South Carolina? I think we would all have the same. Advanced manufacturing, we're a huge advanced manufacturing state. Healthcare, we do so much with offering programs dealing with healthcare. We work very closely with the South Carolina Hospital Association, meeting with them quite regularly. Information technology, tourism, that might be a little different for other states, but for us, we certainly have the Low Country. We have our Myrtle Beach area. We have Charleston, Beaufort. Some of those areas are known for those things. And then STEM, and then transportation and logistics. Next slide, please. So in terms of the system impact, these are just some of the numbers. We enroll about 117,000 students a year. So that would be for an entire academic year. We're very proud of the next percentage, the 49% of all undergraduates enrolled in South Carolina attend a technical college, and that's undergraduate. So we're not including there with some of our huge research colleges and universities. They certainly might have more. Well, we don't even get into graduates, but we're looking at undergrad students. We enroll about 49% of those students. And then for job placement, we are really, really proud of the work that all of our technical colleges do in terms of creating programs that get people to work. And we evaluate those programs regularly each year. Actually, as a matter of fact, we're going through what we call program evaluation right now. So at the end of kind of each academic year, we look at the programs to see how well they have done. Have those students been placed in jobs? How healthy are those programs? And the programs that are not growing or producing to the level that we would like, we look at how do we change the program up, and then in some cases we have to suspend the program. Next slide. So these are just some of the numbers. We have 92 associate degrees, we have 28 diploma programs, and we have 1,000 or so certificates. For our associate degrees, all of our associate degrees and our diplomas in the system fall under a particular model. So we have a model for the program that everyone follows across the state. And then that does not mean, let me be clear about that, that does not mean that all of our programs are absolutely the same. That is not true. They are kind of modeled the same. So they should all feel kind of similar, although they may be very different based upon the business or industry that the college is trying to work with and make sure that they have what they need. Now, certificate programs are completely kind of they have a lot of autonomy. The business and industry in the area really can come in and kind of shape those certificates even more than they can with the associate degrees, so that the certificates really meet that local business and industry need, as would the associate degree or the diploma. Next slide, please. So partnerships, I mean, that's kind of, for us, that's the name of the game. We have some statewide agreements and we continue to build upon those. I'll share where we are with some of them now. But when I say statewide transfer agreements, meaning students know that they can come to us, they can take their first 2 years at the technical college system, they'll have a lower tuition, and then they can transfer to the senior university of their choice. The next thing kind of falls right in line with that in terms of course articulation. There are 86 courses in the state that the senior institutions have agreed to take from the 2-year institution, so we know that when a student is taking courses that are in our associate degree of arts or our associate degree of science, we're pretty clear that as long as they fall in line with those 86 courses, that those courses should transfer onto the senior institution. And then dual enrollment, we are a heavy dual enrollment state, so you're fine to change if you like. So we have a large number of students that are going through dual enrollment. I think there's some figures that are going to pop up in just a second here. So we have over 10,000 students that are enrolled in dual enrollment. And again, that's one of those things that we're very proud of, our partnerships and relationships that we have with K-12, where students are able to kind of get a little bit of a jump start on their college courses, if in fact they are ready to do that. We certainly, they have to make sure that they have mastered or nearly mastered their high school curriculum before they can really jump into dual enrollment, but that's no different than what you would see with AP. So we're doing well in that area. I wanted to list out some of the top transfer courses for us. So English, math, psychology, all of those you could pretty much kind of guess them. Even if I hadn't have given them to you, I would imagine that you would think, okay, that makes sense. A student can go in and they will have already taken some of their English and some of their maths and psychology. And I also wanted you to see the top technical courses that are offered. Courses in the allied health fields. We talked about that earlier, with healthcare being a kind of one of those top priorities for us here in the state. Welding, we do a lot with welding. And then automotive technology. If you've been following anything in South Carolina, you know that we do a lot with the automotive industry, from your BMWs to your Continentals to I could just keep naming in terms of automotives here in South Carolina. So that's not surprising to us. So partnership agreements, this is really just kind of showing you kind of how we start things. It kind of goes from an interest and engagement, just talking to, whether it's business and industry, whether it's a four-year partner. Actually, I got a call yesterday from one of our four-year partners that are going through and changing kind of their general education core, and they want to make sure that they're right in line with us and they don't get off, you know, that we stay kind of in tandem with what they're doing. So it's the general interest and engagement, and then a proposal. We'll share some information with them and they'll share some back with us, and we'll go from there. And then to approval and execution. So we go back and forth with the chief academic officers if it's something that has to do with the academic affairs side, if it's something that is on the economic development side, that's a process that they take things through. And we'll talk a little bit about that in a second to get all of the approvals that are needed through execution. And then we, of course, have reports and review. We always go back to review the process. What do we do well? What do we need to do better? Those kind of things. So looking specifically kind of in my area, I wanted to show you kind of some of the benchmarks, where we are. I listed some of the colleges that we are engaged with as it relates to articulation and transfer. When we talked about being engaged, I'll mention Lander, since that's one of the colleges that I talked to just yesterday. They probably could slide over here to the developing stage. So, and some of the ones that are actually on the developing stage could slide over to kind of the established. So that's kind of how we look at them. Where are we in that process so that we can make sure that those relationships are being tended to, if that makes sense. For us, relationships and relationship building is huge. So we are very excited about all of our partners throughout the state as it relates to articulation and transfer. So the next area that I'm going to talk to you about will be very broad. We have a Ready SC, a division of Ready SC here in the technical college system. This is not my area, but as I said before, we all belong together. We are one system. So when they asked me to do my presentation, they said, do you mind talking a little bit about Ready SC? So I certainly don't mind doing that. So we'll go to the next slide to just show you a little bit about what Ready SC is all about. So Ready SC services, I thought that might be of interest to you. And I talked to our communications director, and she said, well, this slide really kind of highlights everything that Ready SC does. Ready SC works very, very closely with business and industry that are coming into the state. They have a seat at the table when commerce gets kind of that first phone call that a business or industry is coming into the state. So they are there ready to kind of be part of the pitch for the Department of Commerce. And so kind of the areas that you will see them most involved in will be an upfit training site. So they do upfitting, customization. So if you need a curriculum customized for a particular company, that's what Ready SC would do, even if that means that they go on a kind of an exploratory tour, if you may, to go to the actual home site of a company. So if it's a German-based company, they'll take their exploratory venture off to Germany or Switzerland or what have you to go and look at that company and how is it set up there. And then they bring all of that information back to make sure that when that company comes here to South Carolina, it's ready to go. So they're upfitting it based upon what they saw at the other site. Recruiting, normally, like I said, a lot of that happens kind of with the Department of Commerce, but the vice president that's over Ready SC would be, and along with Dr. Hardy, would be right there hand in hand in that recruitment process, and then project development and training. So that's kind of everything quickly that kind of lines up what our Ready SC department does. And here are some of the numbers. Again, when talking to our communications director about just giving you a broad overview of what takes place in Ready SC, she thought it would be interesting for you to see the numbers that are trained each year. And how many we've trained since 1961 and the total number of companies. You have the new projects and the expanding projects. I think I need to make sure that I pause here to make it clear that Ready SC works very closely with business and industry across the state. They also work hand in glove with Department of Commerce. You heard me mention them. They also work very, very closely with the Department of Employment and Workforce. And they also work very closely with the chambers of commerce throughout the state. And Apprenticeship Carolina falls under that economic development arm as well. So just to kind of give you, and this is our newest program, to give you a little overview of Apprenticeship Carolina. We'll go to the next slide because it's very similar to what you saw with the Ready SC slide. So here it kind of tells you kind of the benefits of participating in an apprenticeship program. All of our apprentices are registered through the Department of Labor as an official kind of apprenticeship model that we have here in South Carolina. We hear the word apprenticeship a lot, and a lot of those apprentices aren't actually registered apprentices, but ours indeed are. It's looking at a highly skilled, the benefits is the highly skilled workforce. There's a tax credit. There's some standardization in terms of the skill. It reduces the turnover and it increases productivity. So those are the benefits that we often see when we look at the apprenticeship program. With the connectivity that we have to the technical colleges, the apprenticeship program and Ready SC are wonderful additions because we can kind of do a handoff. After the Ready SC program has gone in and started up a company and those kind of things, they can hand off kind of what's left or what else might need to be done to keep things going to the local technical college. And that also may mean leaving some of the equipment. The apprentices are there and you're using them to watch the participants or the people that work there, watch them grow and get different skills. So they all kind of, everything that we do interconnects. Next slide, please. And we just wanted to show you the phenomenal growth. Again, just something that we're very, very proud of. The number of apprentices that we have, the number of programs that we have, and then youth apprenticeships. That's one of those things that I think if Susan Petrulak were here now, she would say, hey, we really didn't mean to get into the youth apprenticeship game, but it kind of grew and a lot of interest was there for us in the state. So you'll see that there's 166 programs that kind of deal with that whole youth apprenticeship program. So that's kind of where we are in terms of our growth model. So I was watching my time. I have my timer on. I was like, I am not going to go over my time. So I was watching my time and kind of was speeding up a little bit there too. I'll stop there, but I certainly will be willing to answer any questions that you have, even if we need to go backwards. That's perfectly fine with me.
We've got a couple questions here. I'm going to start with, what does allied health mean? This one's from a little while back.
Well, for us, when we bring in what we consider to be our allied health, we're looking at everything from your respiratory therapy to your occupational therapy to your physical therapy, kind of all of those. I guess we should just call them healthcare programs. Usually, you don't necessarily lump nursing in with the allied health, but we could say, you know, it's kind of those programs. Hopefully that described it, you know, enough. But those are the programs that we're looking at along with nursing. Oftentimes when we talk about nursing, don't even really ask me why, we separate them from kind of the term allied health.
Okay, great. And another question, if our area technical college doesn't have a clear articulation agreement with our K-12 system, is it appropriate to get Dr. Amy Carter involved?
Well, I think we got to be careful when we say a clear articulation agreement, because remember, really, sometimes the word articulation might be misused somewhat. The best example I could give is that we articulate programs from the 2-year to the 4-year because they're college programs. They're college courses. I guess I should say that. They're college courses. So English 101 at a technical college would be English 101 at a university. or senior institution. So there's not really a K-12 or high school course that articulates into college, unless, not even an unless, let me just stop there, that there's not one. However, I think where the confusion comes in is if we're doing some dual enrollment kind of things, it is the college course that is taking place with the high school students. So it's the college course that's being offered to high school students. So with that in mind, if a lot of dual enrollment is not taking place, then yeah, I would say talk to Dr. Carter.
Okay. Okay, so we have another one. It's from Elaine. She's asking, how are certificate programs at the colleges for credit aligned with industry recognized certifications, for example?
Well, I think that a college, a specific college, probably could give you better answers. But I would say to you that what we find is that, like if we were to look at something like MSSC, we would take that, the accredited, the accreditation, and those things are kind of they're courses that are set up to make sure that each part or piece or competency that's needed for that accreditation is offered. So it may not be called the same thing, but we're looking at the course competency. So when you go and take that particular exam at the end, your courses should have aligned with the credential that you're trying to get. Does that make sense? That was a little messy. Sorry, Elaine. So it's kind of looking at a particular accreditation that you'd like to have. Let's look at something simple. We'll look at, I want to have a Microsoft certification. Well, in order to have a Microsoft certification, I need to take I need to have these 5 competencies. Well, those 5 competencies might be broken up into, let's just say 6 different classes. But at the end of the day, the most important thing is that the student has those 4 competencies so that they can get that Microsoft certification.
And Elaine followed up and said it sounds similar to the alignment of DACM results.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yes.
Right. Lisa Emily asks, could you please name some counties where you have had success getting school districts to work with the technical college system to encourage manufacturing jobs as viable options for their students?
I think that I feel pretty comfortable saying that the upstate seems to have a lot of success. And when I say upstate, we're talking about Greenville, Spartanburg, that area. I think that from having, I guess, BMW, since they've been there so long, they have very good relationships with both the technical colleges and the school districts. And I think that those areas really pair well together. If you looked at, I would say the same thing you could see similarly in the Midlands. I really would like to say that it happens all across the state, so it's hard for me to kind of point them out. You see wonderful relationships with the superintendents and the technical college presidents in areas like Central Carolina, from Orangeburg, Calhoun Technical College, their school district. So I think it's happening kind of across the state here and there, pretty much sprinkled throughout.
Great. Let's see. So another question. What are some of the barriers or challenges that you've experienced in your efforts to improve pathways?
I tell you, a new challenge that we've been talking about a lot, and it's kind of one of those things where it's good, it's great for the state, it's an interesting challenge to us here at the technical college system and as educators. And that is kind of making sure that we develop those off and on ramps, because um, with unemployment being so low, and individuals can get a job right now, that sometimes going to school is not top priority when jobs are readily available. So what we've been grappling with and making sure that we try to have available are those on and off ramps, so that if you stop for a second to go to work, that you can kind of pick up where you left off and continue with your aspirations to get the degree or the certificate or the certification that you need. So I would say that that's kind of been a challenge for us. It's a good challenge. I mean, we're very happy that the unemployment rates are low, where we understand that the more training and education and certifications and things like that an individual has, the better position they are to make a higher salary. So we would love for them to keep going, but we watch them kind of on the ramp, and then they kind of get off the ramp and sometimes not come back to the ramp until they really need us. So we'd like to see those pathways a lot smoother, so that they can kind of go off and on and keep moving as they're working.
Great. All right, and it looks like we have one more question, but feel free to keep typing some questions in if you have any others. This one is, in what ways do you expect South Carolina Technical College system to grow and improve over the next 5 years as it relates to pathways?
I think you'll see even more linkage with K-12 and our K-12 partners, school districts, individual high schools, middle schools. I think what we've talked about for many years is the need to make sure that the younger student understands that going to a technical college and getting that technical degree can provide them a very good life. And that when we talk about advanced manufacturing, we are not talking about advanced manufacturing that their grandfather or their great grandfather, because some of the kids that we're trying to reach are so young, but it's not the manufacturing that their grandfather or their great grandfather had. So really just kind of making sure that we can make those connections with K-12 and the technical colleges and business and industry. Our executive director or president, Dr. Hardy, has spent a lot of time most recently talking to the superintendents across the state, just to make sure that that relationship is built. He spent some time at their annual meeting when the presidents had their annual retreat. He invited, I think, about 5 superintendents to sit on a panel. So it's just kind of, again, for us, is that relationship building and making sure that we're all partnering together and have a seamless message.
And I just found another question in the chat, and it's what age are the students participating in Code IT Academy?
Actually, as long as they are within the technical college system and in an IT program or under the IT cluster, we didn't have an age cap for them. That was a wonderful program where we, again, I mentioned before, we partnered with Clemson University, we partnered with USC, Blue Cross Blue Shield, ITology, that's here in Columbia, which is a big IT group here, all kind of partnered together to really just kind of show women the options and opportunities that are available in IT, because right now, in terms of enrollment and employment, they don't have a lot of, IT is not an area that you see a lot of females. So that's kind of what we were what we're doing. I missed one major partner, and I want to make sure that I mention them, which is ETV. We even held some of our sessions at ETV, so that, again, just the more exposure we felt like that we could show the young ladies and women, just the more interested they would be.
Great. I see. Can you spell the name Iteology? But I think she's got it spelled right. Itology.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, she's going to look that up. Yeah, and we can provide a link in just a few minutes too.
Mm-hmm.
I will answer that via text with a link in just a couple minutes. If you want to just hang in there after we end the webinar.
Okay, thank you.
All right, I'm just going to wait another minute just to see if there are any other questions. And as Hope said, you can always reach out to Hope or myself or Rebecca Hartley to ask some more questions if you have them. And we will make this presentation, the recording of this presentation, available to you via email. You should get that not too long after this is complete, at the latest tomorrow. And then, yeah, we'll be in touch. We've done a series of webinars that you can check out on the website, and we'll be doing a few more as well. So if you want to join us and hear what we have coming up next, please do check out the website to see more information on that, or feel free to reach out to myself or Rebecca. And I want to thank you for joining us for the webinar today. And I especially want to say thank you to Hope Rivers for giving us such a wonderful description of their work on pathways with the SC Technical College system. Yeah, Hope, did you want to say anything else before we kind of close up?
I would just say, you have my information. Please reach out. I would say to you that we certainly here, we recognize that we are not perfect and we don't have it all figured out. But in terms of partnerships, it's the relationships. If you can develop those good relationships, those trusting kind of relationships, you are halfway there with good partners throughout the state. And although oftentimes it appears as though we are working in silos, I assure you that many of the state agencies here in South Carolina work really, really well together. What we probably don't do as well as we should do is toot our own horn and tell everybody what we're doing. We kind of figure out one problem and we jump on to the next. But we certainly enjoy working with all of the colleges and universities, business and industries here in the state.
Excellent. Well, great. Well, I'm really happy that you all could join us, and thank you again, Hope. And I will send a link to this website as soon as we close up. So if you want to just hang in there for a second, I will add that. And yeah, everybody have a wonderful rest of your day and a wonderful long weekend. And we will see you next time.
Thank you.
Thank you.